Welcome to Nightcap with B.Brown, where we have candid conversations over cocktails. Today, we'll be discussing behind the scenes after the last call. Joining me in the conversation, we have Nia Grace and Eddie Furman, two entrepreneurs from Boston's top night spots, Darryl's Corner Bar and Kitchen, and Savor Restaurant and Lounge. Before we begin, if you have any questions, put them in the description box, in the comment box, and we will answer them during the last segment. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So we'll start by having you introduce yourselves, let people know who you are, and what how did you get into the hospitality industry?
Age
Nia, we'll
before
start with
beauty.
you.
Oh, Nia, what's up? Ladies first.
So I'm Nia Grace. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, born and raised Roxbury, Dorchester area. Grew up in the South End as well. I I I think my passion has always been to entertain, and I like music. I like food. I like cocktails and mixing, and I didn't realize I think how much my passion was going to like overtake me and like kind of dictate my life. I actually spent 12 years in nonprofit management. One of the key things about me though is I've been always about community. So community service, being of service community. But how did I make this transition to hospitality? I actually walked into Darryl's about 8 years ago, and was kind of just hanging out with my girlfriend. And I walked into it and I said, hey, well, if I ever owned a place, I want it to be just like this. Like it was like totally perfect for me. It had the music, it had the comfort food, the craft cocktails. The environment was very intimate and sexy, and so it was one of that passion that I think had been fueled throughout different phases through my life, and I was able to make it a reality about 5 years ago and coming to work here at Darryl. So I've always had experience in the industry. My first job was at a burrito place in the neighborhood. And then, I used to work at the Spirit of Boston. So I've always like been in the industry, but I was able to get back to it and really kind of like develop my passion when I came to Darryl's a few years ago.
And
Oh,
Eddie, how did you get into this?
obviously our path is definitely much different. Okay, so my name's Eddie Furman. I was born in Haiti. Was raised here in the States. Came here, I believe I was 12. My path to the industry pretty much started. I used to be a promoter. I used to promote parties in Boston. So funny to say, like back then, a few friends of mine, we used to do parties over at the Hong Kong in Central Square. And those days, like pretty much that was the only place you could go to hear hip hop. So those were the days where like rap music was pretty much like you know not fashionable at all, or if accepted, if anything, it was never accepted anywhere in Boston. So we had to go all the way down to the Cambridge, like obviously to promote. So
Mm-hmm.
that started that way, and following that, I was doing parties continuously, and then funny true story is that during one of my parties, the owner of the place I was previously a partner at, the Blue Wave restaurant. So he was at the party.
Throwback.
Oh, you remember the Blue Wave?
Yes.
Absolutely. Who don't remember the Blue
You
Wave?
smile. She's like, yes, I remember. So yeah, Blue Wave. So he came to one of our parties and he more or less was like impressed. He was like, a party. I think we did the party. It was like on a Wednesday. It was at this place called Caprice, and he came in, and then he said, "Oh, I'm opening up a restaurant, so I don't know anything about the nightlife. Can you like do parties like this at my place?" I was like, "Okay, sure, no problem." And then went to see him about a few months later. So I was doing parties and parties and parties after that. Then it got to the point where I'm like, like the light came on, like, I'm making this guy a lot of money here. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about time. How can we talk, business wise? And we came up to a point where he said, well, okay, so yeah, I could sell you a part of the business, but you're just solely going to focus on the entertainment aspect. I was like, okay, fine. So that's how I got into the whole industry in terms of like being an entrepreneur, being an owner. And but the Blue Wave, if you remember, it was, I mean, monumental, like in Boston history. So people are still talking about it now because it was again the only place you can go to, and you will see people like us, and party and not be a minority. So that's always been my mentality, just like to have a place where we could call our own. Like we can go and like look around, like, oh, geez, okay, I'm good. Like somewhat like Cheers, somewhere you could go where everybody knows your name. Yes, that's what I wanted to have. A place where people, everybody knows you, people from the same, whether same profession as you, same neighborhood, but we can all collaborate, like, and meet and be one. So that was more of my passion as to what I wanted to create, even with Savor, just to have a place where we can be one, and we could see ourselves as in a different light, as opposed to going somewhere and say, wow, okay, I could count on one hand how many of us are there. So then, you're doing like the head nod from afar. Hey, I see you. You see me? so, so that's what I wanted with Savers, like somewhere where it's like, it's us, have a presence in town, and then just be comfortable with anything, with the music, the food, everything. So that was more or less what I wanted to do.
Okay, okay. Now, in both of your establishments, you cultivate fun in a relaxed environment. How do you keep staff from stepping too far over the line, like dating coworkers or patrons or drinking too much on the job? And have either of you crossed any of those lines?
Oh,
Oh God.
oh,
You have to answer that question. Are you sure?
yes.
um, let's see. Me, I guess even when, as soon as someone starts working there, I mean, the number one rule is you do not fraternize with the staff. That's always the key for me. But needless to say that whatever happens outside those four walls, I can't control. But if inside, it cannot be an issue. I've had situations before where things have grown awry a bit because of that situation. So I've had to make tough decisions, unfortunately. But it's well known, especially in this industry. You cannot, you can't bring your house to work, and it's not a good thing because you're in a business with with people partying and dancing. There's a lot of flirtation going on. So yeah, it's not conducive for for that to happen at all.
Absolutely. I for us, I think we're always talking about, you lay those rules down up front, and Eddie talks about it being the number one rule, and it might be one of the number one rules that's broken. So, it's kind of like once it happens, because it's going to happen, because we're not just talking about like with fraternizing with staff, we're also talking about guests, where it gets
Okay.
like kind of uncomfortable as well. But we're such a small city, and for our establishments, it's bound to happen where your guests might be your interests as well, and it's about trying to keep it professional. I've seen it go other ways though, but it's about trying to keep it professional.
Yeah, exactly. You
So,
off the left a few times. You're like, okay, so what happened here? You can't. And also, you ask about drinking on the job. That's gonna happen. It's honestly, you have to let them drink just so just to be comfortable with everything. Because if you have a staff that actually does not drink, then it kind of, for me, it's like a red flag. Okay, why aren't you drinking like everybody else? What makes you so different? So no, seriously, you have to, because it's the nature of the business. Because like even customers, like they might offer to buy you a drink, and it's like be somewhat rude to say no, I don't drink. So again, it's not encouraged to get drunk, but it's encouraged to say, you know what, to have, as long as you can control it, everything, within control, of course, just to have a drink, either whether before the shift start, before your shift start, or after. I think you're still there.
Okay. Okay, we're here. Apparently, we
Okay.
had some technical difficulties, but we're here.
Hey, Corona's not trying to let us be great. I'm telling you.
At all, at all. Got this good Ethernet in, and it's still trying to have you on the struggle bus.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, so we'll just jump to the next question then. So, tipping, it's an ongoing debate, right? And it usually results in heated discussions. Can either of you explain the importance of tipping? What is the appropriate amount or an industry standard? And is it true that wait staff hourly rates are significantly lower than minimum wage? Or is that a myth?
I would start. I can start off with that. Well, let's talk about the wage. The minimum wage for wait staff when you're tipped is lower than what the minimum straight hourly rate wage is. And I mean, I think that a lot of us are kind of in this industry because it's exciting. You know, the day to day changes, right? And likely your money changes day to day too. You know, your money your money might change shift to shift, right? And so, you know, lunch shifts and how we feel about lunch shifts and dinner shifts and nightlife shifts, different feeling, different money all across the board,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
so, for us, we understand that piece, but it's like a gamble, but we know that there's a lot of value in it. And in actuality, we are kind of putting ourselves on the line to give you that top service so that we can then start talking about the percentages that we deserve on this service. Because it's one thing what the back of the house might do for us, it's one thing what the bar might do for us, but when I'm at your table catering to you, if you don't feel like $1 million when you went out, like truthfully, at the end of the day, we talk about percentages, and 18 to 20% is the minimum of industry standard at this point. I'm looking for, every time I serve a table, I'm looking for 20 to 25%. That's the kind of service I'm trying to give you. And if we don't succeed at that, then that's us. It's kind of like we've got to be reflective for people who are educated when they go out. If they're educated when they go out in terms of knowing about tipping policies and or you know what's standard, then if we're doing our job, they're going to treat us well. So that's it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like what we should just say. Also, I think the standard is one thing, and the misconception is that there is no such thing as over tipping either.
Hey.
There is no such thing. So people always have an issue like, is this too much? No, there's no such thing as too much. You feel like you tip based on the service that you receive, and again, as Nia said, it's a matter of like, as the server goes to the table, their job is to give you their best service. So there should not be a limit on how much you feel comfortable. Again, it's up to you as to what you feel comfortable with. But like the standard to say 15, 18, 20, no, there's no such thing as over tipping. Never that. And it's always encouraged to tip. So a lot of time I said I feel like, I guess, sometimes people feel like, well, if something is wrong just based on, for example, the food or what have you, but that should not take from the service. It's not the service fault. So a lot of times the servers get a bad rep because of something that may have happened, and it sucks. It does reflect bad on them. And as Nia said earlier, so it goes day to day. I call it's like the stock market. You never know what you're gonna get. Someday it might be low. Someday you like come out like laughing, like, "Oh my God, this is the best thing ever." And then some days like, you know what? Yeah, this sucks. I'm out of here. I'm done. And so you just never know. Again, it's the excitement that keeps you coming back. It's the adrenaline rush, honestly, because you may come in and then like it's very slow. You have one table, then you make more money than somebody who is busy the entire night or who's been there for 3 or 4 hours. So again, it's the rush, but it's like the stock market. That's what we call it. So it's like, you never know what you're gonna get. One bad day, one good day, but at the end of the month, it evens out. It always evens out. It catches up.
Okay. So both of you have been in this industry for over a decade. What's your most memorable experience with a customer?
Memorable, good or memorable bad?
However you want to describe memorable.
You know what? I think I'm gonna stay away from the bad because they might know who they are. I'll just drink.
Okay. Right? Is this drink or dare, right? So I would say truth or drink. That's it. What I'll say, I'll talk about when I was 19 and I was serving again on the Spirit of Boston, and I got my first black card. I was like, what is this? Like, and it's one of those things where I really pride myself on service. That's if you're not in the industry for that, yes, the money is good. You know what I mean? The connections that you can make in this industry are good. But if you're not in it for service and like really have that servant's kind of spirit, you're not going to really do well. And so, I mean, I prided myself on people like that. My counterparts might have all the tables. I've got 2 tables. I was like, I'm gonna show you what good service do. So for this particular table, it was a family who were visiting from California. It was a 10 top. Or it might have been even 16 of them, and they were celebrating grandma's birthday. And I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna wow them. And at the end of the day, he gave me this black card, and I was like, I'm already impressed. I don't even understand what this. I ain't never seen. You know, what I mean, I'm from the hood. We ain't have much, right? So I'm like, this is something else. I
You like
said,
that's 30% guaranteed.
okay. So, and then you always hope. Again, there's that thing we're talking about. We're always rolling the dice. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I thought I did the best. It didn't matter if there was a whole lot of thank yous, right? It mattered that, well, you might even have it to give it. It's like once you got to wait for the sign part. And I mean, it was a good time. It was just a good time overall. But it was like, I know how much you got to make in order to have a black card.
You can't be stingy with a black card.
Okay. It was a good night.
Yeah.
Okay, so it lived up to your expectations?
It sure did. And I mean, that was one of my young experiences. I can talk about some of my best experiences, though, absolutely have been here at Darryl's. One of them has got to be my old fellas corner, and that's like on a regular basis. I mean, I got some generational folks who've been here since it was Bob the chef, and they done seen a whole lot of people come up, and so just to be able to sit with them and not say anything sometimes, but just to listen to their wisdom, like I live for moments like that. So that's one of my good times. I might tell you it's about something bad, but I'm gonna let Eddie go.
I'm not saying anything bad at all. I'm telling you, I'm gonna plead the fifth on all the bad ones. They'll know. They watch this, they'll know. They're like, oh my god, that was me.
Right.
But one thing I definitely I remember for me is back at Blue Wave, the Blue Wave days I call them. So it was. She's smiling. Every time I say Blue Wave,
Cause just gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Many a days.
So the memories of Blue Wave is the matter of like the people I hate this like that I somewhat put together. I don't know if it sounds good or bad, but more or less it's always like, oh Eddie, like who's this person? Can I would like to meet this person. Like it's almost like Blue Wave is like a dating scene more or less. Like okay, I could put this person together, put that person together until this day. So 5 years after Blue Wave, I met like this couple, and they're like, "Oh my god, remember us?" I'm like, "Of course I remember you." So we talking. He's like, and then him and the person I set up, they got married, and now lo and behold, they had a son. And guess what the son's name is? Eddie.
Oh, look at you with a namesake out there.
So I was like, no, you kidding? I'm like, he's like, yes, for real. Our son's name is Eddie. He was like, wow, okay. Then it's for me. It was like, man. So this was just, here I am, just thinking, just a one-time thing. Oh, you know what? Yeah, he's a good guy, so you should definitely, hang out with him, talk to him. So yeah, that led into like a whole, relationship and marriage and life together. So yeah, so they named their son, their firstborn, after me. I'm
Got
so
to see out here. Look at you.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Bunch of little Eddies out here.
How have apps such as Uber Eats, Grubhub, Postmates, etc., affected your business?
Are you using Uber Eats?
No, actually, I have not gone on that platform yet because back prior to COVID, we were more or less like, the eating type of place. Like we did takeout, but that was less than 5% of my business. And just as soon as I was ready to kind of turn over into the Uber Eats like format and then the Grubhub, Corona, it happened, didn't let me be great at all. But yeah, prior to that, again, it was just more about 5% of my business. People were more interested about coming down and, enjoying the place, the space, the atmosphere again. So it was all about like the eating experience for me as opposed to, takeout. So I'm hoping, when things get back to semi-normal, then, I will start using those platforms as well.
Yeah, apps for me. I like technology when it works well, and when it doesn't work well, like it really makes me mad. Like, so Uber Eats and Grubhub, much like Eddie, takeout was probably about like 1% of our business prior to COVID. Right now, it's all 19% of our business because that's all we have. And we were already using those apps, and obviously for convenience, if I'm a user of them, then obviously other people like me want to use it for this business. So it just made sense. On the business side of it, obviously the financials of it is tough for the business, considering how much they take off the top of your earnings. But it has been convenient until, again, the people factor kind of mess it up. So the best thing about Uber Eats and Grubhub is that any one of us can get on our phone and within 5 minutes place an order. We know what's in stock, what's out of stock. We don't have to talk to anybody. It has all the details. It's convenient. It's fast. Now it's the people part. The people part are the drivers. And for any Uber Eats and Grubhub drivers out there listening, watching, understand your day is coming, right? I just you got it's challenging. Learn how to use your apps, learn how to use the app, know what it's supposed to do, when you're supposed to show up. That's the worst part of it. But we're making it work right now, and it's convenient. When things like that can work for restaurants, it's awesome.
Yeah. And the scary thing for me, I guess, just thinking ahead, is as you said about the drivers and picking up the food, and God forbid, something happened in transit, and now you're blamed because presentation is not going to be the same. You know what I mean? When something gets from your store over to the person's house, and not just that, and anything else could happen. So to the food, and now you still liable. So for me, that's always something that I'm thinking about as well. It's like somebody expect I don't know how long it take between from your place, how long, if they have if it's like Domino's, they have 30 minutes to deliver the food. So I'm just thinking they pick up something from your place, and by the time you get to the to the house, it's like, whoa, this is kind of soggy. So I'm kind of a bit leery about that. But again, as you say, so this is a platform I'm gonna look further into.
Listen, Eddie, let me give you some real life firsthand stories about what is happening in transit. I mean, I literally watched somebody pick up the order and then stand outside the restaurant for 25 minutes talking.
Wow.
To the point that I walked outside and said, hey, my food has died. And
Mhm.
I'm calling the person and letting them know that you're still out here talking. I'm going to protect my business. You know what I mean? So I had to do
Exactly.
that. Just 2 weeks ago, I had someone deliver a piece of one order to somebody else, knew they didn't have the second order, take the second bag for the other person and drop it off at the other person. Like, they wanted to collect both of the fares, knowing that they didn't have both of the orders. That happened just 2 weeks ago. And
Wow.
then this last week, somebody ate the food in front of the restaurant, then threw the
What?
leftovers out in front of the restaurant. Like, I'm
No.
trying to tell you,
Oh
it
my
ain't the
God.
technology. The technology's fine.
It's great.
Uber Eats, you
Yep.
drivers, Grubhub, I'm coming for you, like, for real. Like,
So when you call headquarters, what do they say? Like how
oh, so yeah, again, it ain't the technology, because guess what? I call Uber Eats and it takes 24 hours to hear from them. My problem is right now. Like, your technology is not, sometimes technology doesn't work, but it's like right now I have an issue.
Yep.
And it's like, I'll get back to you when I can. That doesn't work. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And truthfully, I understand what's going on in the country. I know they're laying off people. I know call volume is high. People, they went from, maybe 40% capacity to 100% all in the last 60 days in terms of how many people are on these sites because of mandates. So I totally get it. But when it comes down to the personnel, Eddie, we gotta work together,
Oh
because
yeah.
we're
I'm
gonna be
telling you,
delivering each other's
that's my
stuff. Because
biggest
I'm
fear,
not
man.
doing that.
That's my biggest fear. That is
I'm gonna
my
get your
biggest fear.
case.
It's funny because I've heard a story from somebody else who told me that they ordered. I guess they ordered food from. I'm not even sure about the restaurant, but by the time they received the food, it was half eaten. So
See what I'm
it was packed.
saying? This is
Yeah,
that's
real.
savage. That's
yeah,
just some real
exactly. So
savagery.
now, and as you said, so you call in headquarters, and it takes time to get to get a hold of anybody. But now the customer's upset with you. Customers are upset with you. They're not thinking, well, it's a headquarter problem, it's a driver problem. They're just thinking, oh, it's your establishment, and then now you're responsible, and then that gives you a bad name,
Mhm.
because it doesn't take much for us to get a bad name. It
Yeah,
doesn't take much at
yeah.
all.
Very unforgiving.
So has being a professional in the industry changed how and where you spend your money as it pertains to other nightlife establishments?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Being a professional in the industry,
Uh huh.
has that changed, knowing the type of service that you provide, has that changed where you go and spend your money with other nightlife establishments?
Well, for me, it's about where I feel comfortable. I go to where places I feel comfortable. So it's not necessarily about what I experience, but like for example, there's certain places in the city that are like, oh, okay, on a Tuesday I'm gonna go there. Like on a Monday, if I'm not open, you'll catch me at this place. Like whether I'm at Wally's, wherever. So it's like there's certain places in the city I go just to be me, just low key. Because you guys may not know this, Nia, you don't know this, but I'm not like I don't know, a socialite, so to speak. I'm very low key and laid back. So you might find me at the, the not the weirdest place, but like the most low key place ever. So, but no, I still go out certain places. It all depends where I'm comfortable at.
Yeah, I think to the first piece of that is I'm very selective about where I go.
Mhm.
I do have a standards of service, but I also am where there's so many different things that are nightlife, right? And there's so many
Mhm.
different vibes from from your rowdy karaoke bar, which I don't mind going to your
Exactly.
upscale lounge, which I don't mind going
Mhm.
to. You know what I mean? To the super like neighborhood, like quintessential bar, like don't mind going to it where it's like no frills, right? And so I feel
Mhm.
like we're chameleons in the nightlife, and
Yep.
we can adapt,
Mhm.
to
Yep.
any environment. So for us, I think we have more options because we in fact don't just have one standard. Like if I walk into my no frills spot with the one or two staff and whatever's on the bar, I have an expectation. I don't expect, like I'm not gonna it's gonna be realistic to that
Mhm.
place, right?
Yep.
If I go to a high-end lounge and the cover's high and the bottles are high and all that, okay, I got expectations, you know what I mean? And I think
Mhm.
that we're able to I think the way we actually approach the situation is so unique. They kind of know like our background, like because
Yep.
we're asking certain questions, we're figuring out certain things, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I can't really pull anything over on you. You just
Because
all right. So so our
'Cause you
experiences tend to be different, and I
yeah.
mean, I think we chameleon anywhere.
That's true. And again, it's kind of good though to go to those places. Again, it's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of refreshing. You either get a few ideas of your own just based on what you see. Oh, wow, okay, okay, I could do certain things, and it kind of like it's also good to be waited on. To be honest with you, just to say, it's good to go out at time, and even like I could be on a Monday. It's like as you just said, like if like random Monday, so Phoenix, landed, like there's reggae music, like I'm like, wow, Eddie, what are you doing here? Well, okay, I'm just observing. Like, okay, so there's certain demographics of people that I'm like, okay, how can I reach them? This is what they like. You know what I mean? So of course, there's always something like that kind of strike up an idea when you go certain places.
Okay. How hard is it to stay relevant within the industry? You talked about going to other places and seeing what they do to attract certain audience. So how hard is it to stay relevant?
Hmm. Well, you always have to almost reinvent yourself, you know, and that's what it is. And that's again, as you go out, that's how you stay relevant because you are noticing. You have to go to see, you have to understand the changes, the trends that are happening in the industry. So you cannot just be stuck in your old ways. You need people around you that'll tell you things like, you know what, yeah, Electric Blue was like 2009. You gotta up the ante right now. So that's part of it. Like, so to stay relevant, you definitely have to, be on the scene, which is what I say. I like to go on the scene. There's certain days of the week that, I'll say, you know what, I need to go somewhere, just kind of see what's happening. Example, the new places that are, popping up left and right. Oh yeah, you definitely have to go there because you need to see what's the catch with this thing. All the new, the new toys popping up in town left and right. In about a month or so, it's gonna be the place to be. So you need to see like, all right, so this is what's going on. But to be relevant, you definitely have to be on the scene and always have to reinvent yourself.
Yeah, I think is it hard to be relevant? It can be.
Hmm.
I feel like you either are on the side of trendy or you're the side of classic, right?
Hmm.
And
Yep.
so classic establishments may not have to do as much in terms of evolving who they are. If you have this one thing that you're just like always like
Yep.
interested in.
Mm-hmm.
If you are trendy, I think it's harder. I think it's harder for you to be trendy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that for like our establishment, I don't think that we're trendy. I think that we're a little bit more classic in terms of what our offering is, but I think that we're also inspired, right? So
Yep.
we're it's like, oh, this is what I come to know, but oh, you just threw a little something in there, and that's
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
and I think that that's
I didn't
that's what
expect
kind of
this.
keeps us, in par with the ones that are just a trendy only.
Yep.
So
Yep. That's true. That's true.
Okay. So reality shows can have one thinking that this industry is very glamorous, very lucrative.
I'm sorry.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
How much work goes into owning an establishment? Like, break it down for us. What does a day in the life look like?
I'll let you go, Nia, but do you have more than 24 hours? That's how long it takes.
Yeah, no, I mean, we can keep volleying back and forth. Eddie's
Yeah.
been doing it longer than me, but
Yeah.
again, even if when I was just a server,
Hmm.
it was expected that you knew how to work a 12 to 16 hour shift, right? That's
Hmm.
just at the start of it,
Exactly.
right?
That's
And
standard.
that's standard. And if you can do that, well, you should just go on ahead, right? So, I mean, I remember working 90 to 96 hours a
Yeah.
week when I was just serving. And then now, when you're owner and an operator, like both Eddie and
Yep.
myself, that's 16 hours plus
Plus.
seven,
Plus.
plus seven, right?
True.
And I don't know if we're doing the math, if anyone's taking account,
Yeah.
but
Would you have a
16
calculator?
plus 7, I think it's 23. I'm not, I may not be good with
Exactly.
math.
No,
It's only one
exactly.
hour left,
Yeah.
right?
And
Only 7 days in a week. And every year on my birthday, I pray for an extra day.
yeah.
I just want 8 days in a week to be able
Yeah.
to do this. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, it takes time. The day in the life, it starts with doing your vendor stuff. You got to understand that between 9 and 5, everybody that you buy from or work with, those are their hours. You know what I mean? So for
Mhm.
us, we might be 5 to 2 a.m., but we've got to start operating on their hours. I wake up every day at 6 o'clock or before 6 o'clock. And then typically, on a good night, I'm able to get into bed by 12, or, on a regular night,
Oh,
it's
wow. I'm
after
like
3.
12
I
o'clock.
said
Jeez.
after 3, you know what I mean? So again, think
Wow.
about it. You're paying the bills, you're handling the correspondence, emails, phone calls,
Yep.
mail.
Yep.
You might be your own bookkeeper, you might be
Oh,
your
yeah.
own accountant. It really depends on how your structure is. But we're doing all of that in the daytime, and then we get, and so whether it's scheduling, and then we get ready to get on the floor. And
Mhm.
Eddie, what does it look like when you're trying to get on the floor? What you got to do to prepare?
Oh my God. So going back, let me just start back. As you said, I always tell people that, as you said, 8 days in a week, I don't think is enough. People don't understand that, you know, 90, you average about 90 hours a week. That's just normal. That is just
Mm.
normal. Like, you don't get in this
What
business
is it?
just thinking you're just gonna be like, oh my God, I'm just gonna work 2 3 hours. Nah, man, it doesn't happen that way. And the hour that you said, that Nia said you have when you think it's for yourself, no, your mind is still racing because you're thinking about the next day or the next thing. And then you're waking up, and as you said for you about the vendor. So for me, yes, you have to call vendors, and then at times not at times, I do the shopping as well for the restaurant. So now
Mm.
I have to hit the road early because you need to get to the restaurant depots of the world. You need to get to the meat market. You need to get to this before, well, not before everybody, because everybody gets there at the same time. So it doesn't even matter. So now you're there in the morning, and you're trying to buy stuff. You're doing that, and then you're going back, as you said, the scheduling. And God forbid that this is around the time you get the email or the text messages. Yeah, I don't think I could come to work today. I don't know. So it's always like at the very last hour. It's like that's the last thing I'm thinking about right now. Because you have so much to do, and now you're thinking, you still have emails to reply to, phone voicemails, and um, scheduling. So now you get there and preparing. So it takes. People think that if you open at 5, you get there at 5. No, you open at 5, you get there possibly 2:30. To get ready for 5 o'clock. So that's like 3 hours prior. So and even when you close at 12. You're not going home at 12. You're there for another 2 hours. So yeah, so going to bed at 2, like if anyone sees me in bed before 2 a.m., it's like I'm either not feeling well or something happened, but it's usually, again, it's long days. You don't get in this business if you cannot roll up your sleeves and get down and dirty. And especially for us, like, as entrepreneurs and operators as well, it's not do as I say, it's also do as I do, because people like to see you in the trenches with them as well. Again, I've been if I have staff working on Valentine's Day, I'm working with them on Valentine's Day. If I have them on Christmas, I'm there on Christmas, because they respect you more for that. So no, it's a never ending thing. So it takes a special person, honestly, to be an entrepreneur, to own a restaurant, to be an operator, manager, whatever you want to call it, that you call it in a restaurant business.
It sounds like you definitely have to have a passion for it and a drive, or else you will burn out relatively quickly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, given the current state of affairs, how did the stay-at-home order impact your business?
Hmm. Well, I'm completely shut down, so so I guess
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. So, last day of operation was March 14th, and I was it 14th? I believe that was Saturday, and I think that the governor made the announcement either Sunday night or Monday. So, yeah, so pretty much I've gone to from 100% to zero. It's like, how Drake said you go from zero to 100. I went from 100 to zero.
Bro.
So I'm like reverse. So yeah, it just completely shut everything down. So now it's just a matter of trying to figure things out. How do we bounce back? Because we feel like, what, this is something that's needed in the city. I have to come back, more or less. It's a much needed business. It's a much needed establishment. Not just myself, but like any and all small black owned business in the city. We are definitely needed. We serve a purpose in the city to a certain degree. So we all have the fight right now is for us to find a way to come back, to stay alive, and not just come back and open up, because opening up is one thing. The next 6 months is going to be the telltale of everything. Like, surviving until 2021. That's for me. I think that's what I see in terms of like making it, or trying to survive.
Yeah, since March 15th, we shut down that day. They announced the no on-site consumption the next day on the 16th. And we made the decision that week very quickly to decide to try to do the takeout model, thinking that it was only going to be 3 weeks at first.
Oh yeah, I
That was
thought it
a
was gonna be
moment of
short lived.
silence for the
Oh yeah,
three
I know,
weeks that we
right.
thought this was going to be. Okay. So at that point, so I mean, what did it do to our business? Much like Eddie, again, 1% is what we were doing in takeout. Everything was fairly passive. Our main source was you being here and experience what we had to offer. So we lost, yeah, like 98% of our revenue source, because catering and large events had, died as well. So we lost our catering opportunities. We moved to this takeout model. The first 2 weeks, I thought, I thought it was horrible. It was horrible. You know what I mean? It felt like just throwing, what, money after bad, like after good. It just was a bad situation. And we're making it work. Our meals weren't necessarily set up for takeout. The kind of dishes that we offer, I didn't want to experience. I didn't like putting it in a container in the first place, some of our dishes, let alone then trying to see how it was going to hold up, making it to somebody's house about an hour later. You know what I mean? So we had to change our menu immediately, try to figure out where we could bolster some things. And in trying to change the menu because of that, I mean, that probably eliminated 75% of the menu that people knew. So we had to create a new menu on the spot, think about what we could do. And I mean, the staffing piece was one of the hardest things. People initially, not coming to work, or we were trying to keep people employed, and that didn't work. And then folks were scared to come to work. So, that's the next thing that we had to deal with. So for me, I've actually been cooking, a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah.
weeks here. And you just got to kind of do what you got to do. So, what did COVID do? It shut us down for sure. And I know that Eddie and I, especially with our group, the Black Hospitality Coalition, we've all been strategizing. We're at different phases of, this pandemic that we're in, but we are all, have kind of like the same the mandates against us. So we have been working together to figure it out. And I think we're just getting more and more creative every day.
Yeah, no, sure.
So you kind of segued into the next question. With in 2019, local restaurateurs of color created buzz with the annual Black Restaurant Challenge, and in 2020, fellow owners, including the two of you, came together and launched the Boston Black Hospitality Coalition. What sparked the need to launch the coalition?
No business. No, I mean, like,
We need
no.
money.
You know what? I think it's something that I say that our big brother Frank lets us know from Wally's Jazz Club and Cafe. He actually, I mean, he is a true veteran in the industry here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's somebody that I look up to. He's got a lot of wisdom, and he said it. He said this needed to happen. This been needed to happen. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where it's like, all right, well, now is the time. And why is now the time? Yeah, we were in a situation that we were facing something unknown to us, but we were doing it at the same time. And why not do it all together so that we can utilize each other to have somebody to lean on? Both Eddie and I, as well as the other members, are solo entrepreneurs, so we're in this at the top kind of by ourselves. And it's really great to have another face again that looks like us, that is really understanding what we're going through. I mean, and we're all customers of each other as well,
Yep.
right? So
Hmm.
I'm passionate about making sure that Eddie's business does not go anywhere because I like to go to savor every now and again. You know what I mean? So okay,
Of course.
I want to
Get you
hang out,
another
do
one
something
once in a
different. So
while.
you know what I mean. So I mean that's truly what it is. And I mean we care about each other. We care about our community. We care about these spaces for our black and brown brothers and sisters, right? So that
Yep.
is really a part of the need for it to have happened. And then we're talking about sustainability after this point. So this is a crisis that finally said, all right, let's stop, and let's get this together. But what we see this as in the future, this is going to be that alliance that is always going to make businesses stronger, particularly our bars and restaurants, and then hopefully
Mm.
welcome more in so that we're not sitting here as the only 8 African American owners of bars and restaurants in the city of Boston.
Yeah, I'm sure. And again, as you said, Frank, again, he is the OG of the group. So that's my
Oh,
guy.
gee.
That is my guy. That is my guy. So, um, yeah, it's definitely much needed because if you look at the landscape and most of the restaurant in the city, they are owned by different management group. So you have groups of that owns multiple restaurants, and they are very strong. And again, we, as Nia said, we're our individuals in this industry. So we don't have anybody to say, you know what, who can I talk to about this situation? Who can I go to about this? Because they do. And honestly, so it's like, for example, if something happened to, I'm drawing a blanket on any hospitality group that are out there, they can call, their brothers like, hey man, listen, I don't know what's going on. How do you deal with this? Oh, I need some of this. I need some advice. So they have somewhere to go, but we don't have that. And even to the thing where it's like business related, like, okay, I need access to cash. They'll tell you. They'll have somebody in their corner. They're like, you know what? Go to John's house, knock on the door 3 times. You know what? Go on Monday. Don't go on
Wink.
Tuesday because Tuesday's his day off. They'll tell you certain things that you know what we're not privy to, and it's the truth. Like, and they have that group where you have strength in numbers, and that's what we feel right now. We have strength in numbers by forming this group that yes, it will go far. This is something that's definitely much needed for the landscape of Boston black businesses.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as Black-owned businesses, it's important to support and push an agenda as you're doing, but you're still in a cutthroat industry. How do you balance partnership competition?
Hmm. I I just gonna say that every day the mantra used to be I think that a restaurant opens up every single day, right? So in general, we've got another restaurant or bar to compete with every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what keeps us unique and probably not feeling like a threat to each other, we only got 8 places.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
And we
Right. Right.
and we're not
So
all the same. We do different things, and that's the thing. There are 8 of us, but if you look at the breakdown of exactly what we do, it's almost like 8 different things.
Absolutely.
We do separate things, so we're not necessarily in competition with each other. We are helping each other. That's number one. Number two, it's like if you look at Wally, definitely different than Daryl's. Like you look at Darryl, different from Saber. Like our demographic is much different. Like I serve the younger groups. You have much of the older. So it's like, and Darryl has I'm sorry, not that Wally has everybody. He's all over the place. So no, it's 8 of us, but we definitely not in a competition. We're more or less like have different business models. Like so, we're definitely not a competition. Like, and we're not competing with each other. I honestly, it's because we have such unique businesses. We feel like people see us for what we actually are. So because we're not trying to be like each other, we're not trying to be like somebody else who's in Dorchester, somebody else is in the South End or the North End. So we just pretty much being true to ourselves.
Yeah, I think we're super authentic in that
Yep.
way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've reached the last call. If any of the viewers have any questions, you can put in the comment section. I'm going to ask one last question. And if we don't receive any from the viewers, we are going to wrap up this show. So the next question, if someone watching is interested in owning a nightlife establishment, what advice would you give?
Mm.
If I'm sorry, is going on. Yeah.
If someone's watching is interested in owning an establishment, what advice would you give?
Get another job.
All right.
No, the only advice I'll say is that to be true to yourself and be ready. It's not again. It's not that we make it look easy because we work so hard, and it to the outside world it may look like it's easy, but it is work. It is work. You have to be ready to work, and it's not something you just go in just to say, oh, you know what, I'm just to be a flyby. I just want to own a restaurant, and again, you could have the money where you could just be an investor of a sort. But to say you want to get hands down and dirty, it takes time and it's a lot of work. So only thing I'll tell anybody is just like be sure that's what you want, and be ready because it's work. It is work.
Yeah, it's absolutely work. It's definitely a lifestyle. Like it's
Mhm.
not. This is not. People go to work 9 to 5s, and even if you don't work a 9 to 5, sometimes just people have jobs, right? And things that they do.
Mhm.
This is a lifestyle,
Yep.
especially if you are going to be a place that is open for dinner and nightlife. Like
Mhm.
that means your partner has to be with that. That means your friends and families have to understand that
Oh
as
yeah.
well. You know what I mean? Like, and then you have to make sure that the people around you who are supporting you are okay with it as well, right?
Oh yeah. For
And then it's
sure.
like we're talking about the time that it takes, but like let's talk about some of the hardcore pieces of the finances. This is a very expensive industry, especially here in the city of Boston, and so really having your finances straight and it's not like you got to have a whole lot, but I'm saying like having things straight, having your credit score right, having
Mhm.
having some numbers together, understanding the business. I think I applaud the people who are able to get into it, having never worked in a restaurant or a bar. But that's what I expect to see out of someone who wants to
Yeah.
be an owner is that you have actually worked at a restaurant and bar. You are really into service, because then you're really going to do well because you get that knack right there.
Mhm.
And then have patience. And the thing is, I say that because I've learned that there's not enough patience. I thought I was really patient, and then I'm like, nah, I've got to grab a little bit more of it. You know what I mean? Because it's patient. It's patient with yourself sometimes, especially when you're pushing yourself. It's being able to say, listen, you can't do A through Z today. Sometimes you might have to stop in the middle and realize that tomorrow you'll be able to do a little bit more. Patient with your staff and trying to some people are learning different stages, and
Yep.
then absolutely with the customer, it's got to be patient
Yeah.
sometimes.
And as you said, it's a matter of like, if you're going into business, just like everything else, do not pretend that you know everything because you
Yeah,
don't. Have good people around you because you do not know everything. And as you said, the family piece is big, is major because they have to understand the grind and the hours that you spend. I mean, if you have a family, if you you have kids, you have a significant other, you have a spouse, they truly have to understand because, man, it's not for the faint of heart because plans will be changed so often.
absolutely.
Schedule will be changed so often because it's like, oh, you're supposed to be home at 8 o'clock, but guess what? It's 12 o'clock right now. It's 1 a.m. So they truly have to understand, because it's not something where it's not a 9 to 5. There's no such thing as clocking out, because
Mm-hmm.
you are always on. Even when you're sleeping in bed, you're on. Trust me, I've had many nights I woke up like, oh shoot, okay, hold on. Did I lock the door? Did the fridge open?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You're like, geez. And then you start thinking, okay. And I've actually gotten dressed and gone back down and checked. So
Wow.
it's yeah, so it's like that. It's like that. So that person, more or less, you need to have a strong group of people around you, staff and family around you, because it's a grind, and it's not short term. It's not short term at all.
No.
All
I
right.
hope I didn't, dissuade anybody. I'm sorry if I did. I'm sorry. You told me to be truthful.
Yeah,
Yeah, to be
no.
honest, people need to know what they're stepping
Yeah,
into.
exactly. I hope
Absolutely.
I didn't scare
Absolutely.
anyone.
No. Well, thank you for joining me on this episode of Nightcap. Thank you to the audience for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that you'll be notified of future episodes. And until next time, stay blessed. Good
Stay
night.
Hey.
blessed. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Salute.